cracking down on China in a bold move. The president eliminating a special loophole that allowed Chinese retailers like Shine and Temu to flood the U.S. market with cheap, low-quality goods. Duty-free. That's over as of May 2nd.
The quality is crap, to your point. I got something from there and it fell apart in a day.
Yeah, it's crap. Garbage. Charles Payne, this is the de minimis rule, is it not? Do you have any problem with this whatsoever?
I don't. I only know, from social media, I know that it must be crap because every time someone wants to diss somebody on social media, they say that their clothes or whatever they have came from. Every time it's like Temu. I'm like, I didn't even know what it was. All I know is oh, look at your outfit, it's from Temu, and everyone starts laughing. So I know it must be really crappy because that's the go-to insult on social media.
Well, what was nice about eliminating the de minimis rule, Dagan, that you alluded to, basically nothing, originally was everything under $800 was free, and now it's not. It is subject to a duty, if you will. Is that was really caught up to in the fentanyl trade.
You said duty.
D-U-T-Y.
Yeah, I know. I'm just kidding. I'm just joking.
But a lot of people were thinking that was also sort of the backlash too against fentanyl. So this solves multiple problems from the administration besides just the tariff on cheap crap from China.
Yeah.
And I would just add that China seems to be the country that's getting hit hardest here. And there's something about that, just as an American citizen, that I like, that goes to the thesis of generally what he's trying to do with these new trade negotiations. China has been the worst offender of all the nations taking advantage of us in many ways. And this is a Band-Aid that nobody has wanted to rip off. But we've been talking about decoupling for years and years, and everybody knows that we need to do it. Nobody's wanted to be the one to do it because it's difficult to do. I think this is a positive step in the right direction, and I realize that it might cause this short-term pain, but, Taylor, you've made the point. I'm willing to pay for that to distance ourselves from China and bring our manufacturing back home.
Can I also just pick up on that? Because when you saw how bold these things were, right? How just, again, no one had this on their bingo card. No one war gamed for this. No one thought this was these numbers, we would see these kind of numbers. You have to think there was also an insinuation or sort of a message also sent to China about making global moves on a military basis, right? You had these war games, China on Taiwan. They unveiled that bridge. Did you see that land bridge they unveiled? It's absolutely amazing. So essentially, they'll be able to have a ground invasion of Taiwan as well from the ocean. These are all the kind of saber-rattling things that normally would be the main thing we'd be talking about if we weren't talking about tariffs. And I think the notion is from this White House is, hey, if you thought we were crazy when it came to trade, we're also crazier when it comes to defending, Taiwan.
But, you talk about the decoupling. I'll bring it up again. I think today a lot of companies are trying to figure out what is the next move in decoupling. They get the message on China. We need you out of China. They got that message, 7, 8 years ago as well. And their move was to adjacent countries in that region to try to do that. And they read that list of countries yesterday and the tariffs. We mentioned this earlier. They saw Vietnam at the top. They saw Cambodia at the top.
Laos.
And they went Laos, and they went, wait a sec. If I'm Wayfair, or if I'm VF, or am I, that's like North Face stuff, right? So where am I going to make that? And the goal, obviously, is the United States.
Right.
But that doesn't happen like that. So I think part of the disorientation here is for these guys who've already started to decouple from China to figure out, what does the path look like now that all the places I used to want to go, I can't go to anymore.
To that point, though, they knew that the goal wasn't for them to just simply leave China, but to come to America. And they thought they could placate or wait out the clock on Trump 1.0. Right. And they were able to do that to a certain extent. We did see massive nearshoring and things like that. So, listen, when people talk about factories not being built overnight, I'm like, no one's suggesting that. But if the American public sees the rigs and they see, the cranes and they know that it's happening, I'm going to talk about the Gigafactory, right? Because I think that's a great example. It took 3 years to build. 12,000 people worked there at the one in Nevada. And imagine if we went at this the way we went at the COVID vaccine. The same thing. You can't do a vaccine in less than 3 to 5 years. Well, how about a few weeks?
Yeah.
Remove all the regulations. Remove all the barriers. Make it something that we want to do as a nation.
Wait, we talk about the COVID vaccine here? I don't think you can make that one.
I want to pick up on your point about national security, and you were talking about Taiwan, but also getting these companies to come manufacture chips here, for TSMC to be investing here, for, I'm sure, other companies to start strategizing and saying we've got to bring that manufacturing home and not keep it in Asia. National security-wise, that's a huge issue for our country. And so I think he's trying to do multiple things here with some of these rules.
But the initial reaction was China, Japan, South Korea getting together, and we'll see if that.
We'll see. Those are trade
partnership-
ministers. Those weren't like the top dogs, right? We'll see. I mean, honestly, if I'm Japan, I wouldn't trust to do any business with China because we know what China ultimately, how they feel about Japan.
Indeed.